Again, welcome to your NYCP Talking Circle for August. It's great to see everybody coming in from Florida and Alaska and Pennsylvania and New Mexico and Arizona. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. We've still got a couple more people joining, but as we wait for them to get their sound on, I'll go ahead and play the disclaimer.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
All right, now that we've got our disclaimer, I'd love to welcome your NYCP Program Officer, Donna Busso. Hi, Donna.
Hi, hello, everybody. Good to see you all.
Awesome. So for today, we are going to be reviewing APR updates, getting into your grant award notification or GANs, and then we're going to be having a discussion regarding how you're preparing for your new year. And then, of course, we'll round up our time together with upcoming events. And so as we get into the APR updates, I will turn it over to Donna.
And I think everything came just in time. You guys should have all received your GANs. They were just sent out a few minutes ago, actually. So if you have your NYCP GANs for the new cohort that just came in, the FY22, you just completed your first year, your GANs should have just came out. So I'm glad we're about to talk about those too. So you all submitted an APR in April, and some of you reported 999s on those measures in section A. So we're going to talk about those APR updates. If you reported a 999, you will need to submit an APR update. If you submitted incorrect numbers or a number that needs to be changed in section 8 based on updated data, go ahead and submit a new APR update. If you submitted everything and you didn't have any 999s, or you had maybe it was 0, so you didn't have any data yet to report on, and everything was nice and complete in those APRs, you do not need to submit an APR update. And if you are an NYCP no cost extension, you do not need to submit an APR update. Reporting reminders. If you reported a 999 in your APR, you must provide updates for those measures on this form that is here. The links are there. APR updates must include all measures that you reported on as 999 in the spring 2023 APR. Complete the required Ed 524B Section A form. Those APR updates are due October 26th. So here is the 524B Section A form. If you don't have this, maybe we could find the link and put that in there for them. So this is the form that you are going to need to submit those updates on if you reported 999. Submit all GEPRA and project objectives. So don't include any new objectives. You're not going to include any new objectives. Once those objectives are in this first APR, those are the ones you're going to report on for the remainder of your grant life cycle. Just update the ones that were submitted in April that you reported a 999 on. And this includes an updated explanation of progress. The APR updates are due October 26th, of this year. So they're due October 26th. Everyone should have all of those last minute data numbers coming in that usually come in with scores, test scores, those spring test scores. Hopefully those all are all in. and submit those to the forms that are on your screen. For my FY18 grantees that are on no cost extension, you all have 120 days after the last day of your performance report of your NCE. I have 2 who are your FPR is due pretty soon. Those are the last day is up, and I believe both of you have turned those in already. If not, I will get back with you. And everyone else that are on the no cost extension, your last day is September 30th, and your FPR will be due 120 days after that, and I believe that's around February 1st. There is going to be a FPR webinar November 2nd where we will talk about all of those things. And there is an FPR webinar on YouTube that Synergy has done a while back that I believe I sent you all that link on your FPR paperwork last year. So if you don't have that, it's on our YouTube as well. And here's the GAN. So if you did not receive your GAN, you're either a new project director, and I did not get to update anything in G5 when all of our NYCP information is in process. I can't update anything in G5, so I will have to do that. It's on my calendar to do that tomorrow. So if you are a new project director, and I had a call on this earlier, I need a memo stating that you're the new project director, your level of effort on that memo, letterhead of your school or tribe or tribal organization. And I need a resume, and I also need your email, an updated email. If it's a certifying official, I'll need that as well. So you may not have received again if you're a new project director, or if it has changed. And if you are the new project director, you will see your name in block 5 of the key personnel. Make sure all of that is correct and your level of effort is correct. If not, send me an email so I can get those changed. Block 6, your award periods. This is block 6. You will see your budget award period for this fiscal year. And then you're going to see a performance fit period for the entire life cycle of your grant. Read those and read the dates. Sometimes that gets confusing, and I have someone coming back saying, you know, we didn't get all this, or we got this amount instead. Look at that block period, that award, block 6, the award periods, and what budget period. Right below that, you see where it has the budget period. We're going to be on number 2, year 2. And block 7 is the authorized funding. That is this action. This budget period is this year. And then the performance period, again, is the life cycle of the whole grant. You all will have carryover, especially my FY22 cohort. A lot of you do have carryover. The year 1 is really hard to implement everything and get all of those activities completed. But that carryover is there. You have it. Any year 1 funds remaining from October 1st, 2023 are considered carryover funds unless you had any expenditures that happened in year 1 and you haven't drawn those down yet. And it's already October 1st, but those expenditures happen in year 1. Make sure you account for that as you're doing your budget. You do not have to request a carryover, and any potential budget cuts would be reflected in your grant award, not on your carryover. So it will be reflected in this new year 2 GAN. Carryover must stay in your budget category that it was in as of October 1st, unless you've sent me budget revisions. Year 2 funds may be moved through your budget revisions with approval. So how do we determine your year 2 budget? You're going to look at your carryover. Please talk to your budget people, because you don't want to get what you think you may have, and some of those may not have been drawn down yet for that, those expenditures again in year 1. So make sure get with your budget person to make sure that your carryover is correct. We do not know your carryover here at the department. We know what is in G5, but we don't know how much is that was expended already or that you just haven't drawn down. So get with your budget person to make sure you know your carryover exactly. And then look on your GAN in that block 6 to know how much you are receiving in year 2. That is your total year 2 budget. This is an important one. Besides the budget piece, this is one of the most important ones on the GAN. In block 10, these are your terms and conditions. Sometimes you have conditions placed on your grant based on a lot of different things. It's based on a report that we look at. It is based on the different meetings that we ask you to come to, the project directors meeting that you're required to come to. It depends on the communication that you have had with me or your program officer. And all of these different things, we look at how we are going to place conditions if needed on the next portion of your grant to make sure that your grant is successful. We don't do this as a punitive measure. We do this to make sure that the grant is successful for the lifetime of the grant. So look at those conditions if you have any in block 10. And there are dates. There's certain dates that these things need to be turned in. You will set up a one-on-one call with me, and we will go over these conditions. We'll go over everything to make sure that you have everything turned in a timely manner and that you stay in compliance. Your year 2 budget revisions are due November 2nd. You can turn them in before if you're ready. And they are required for everyone. All my no-cost extension people, it's not required for you. So it's just required for our year 2. And we're going to have more information that's in the October talking circle about your budget revision. And I will turn it over to Olani.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thanks, Donna. That was a lot of really great and important information. Again, I see in the chat, some people are asking for the slides. We will be sending out the slide deck as well as the recording will be posted on the OIE YouTube channel. So you can always go back to listen if you need further information or maybe need a refresher. But now we're going to get into discussion. And so this is the talking part of the talking circle. And so we really want to encourage you to participate. And we're going to be discussing, as we are wrapping up for most of you, your first year of the grant and prepare to launch into your second year. For some of you, you are in NCE and maybe you're going to be ending that NCE and you're transitioning to a time outside of the NYCP grant and maybe thinking about how you're going to sustain and maintain the program. And also I think for those of you who are in NCE, you have maybe probably a lot of like lessons learned that you can share with the newer NYCP grantees. So really want to encourage everyone to participate. You put a lot of work into planning and implementing your program, and how do you know what's working and what's not? And so I know a lot of you, after reading your APR, do utilize a continuous improvement cycle, and it helps you to determine, when you need to make adjustments, what results are actually coming out of those adjustments or your implementation. The process of continuous improvement can really help you ensure that you're following the path you intended with your program. This process is widely used in business and during school times. The continuous improvement process is cyclical. So you sort of just iterate and iterate with a logical workflow in which each step relies on the step that came before it. And if you follow this process, it will lead to better instruction, program delivery, and also better student outcomes. The first phase of the cycle includes defining your goal. And so a lot of you have already done this in your grant proposal. You've gone for our new grant, well, our relatively new NYCP grantees, you've gone in and you relooked at your project measures in your planners and you redefine them. Now you have 1 year of that under your belt. And you've been implementing the strategies that you said in the grant and moving along this cycle. You are now in this place where you have been collecting data. And so when we think back to when you submitted your APR, you were collecting data then. You've been collecting data between there and the end of your grant. After you've collected that data, whether it was surveys or assessments, maybe it was looking at attendance, maybe growth, academic growth, or even social and emotional growth, whatever your, how you were defining success, you've collected that data and now you're ready to analyze that data. Excuse me. So when you analyze that data, you're really utilizing it to determine whether or not you are getting close to the measures that you had originally defined. Once, maybe some you've been hitting that mark, but maybe others, it's like where you're just sort of not getting there. So you are maybe thinking about different strategies you want to employ in order to define those measures. And then you go into sort of the improvement portion. Some of that improvement may be redefining your action plans, looking and researching new strategies. Also another area of improvement could possibly be your data collection methods. So sometimes when we create surveys or assessments, we need to go back and look at the questions we're asking in order to make sure that the questions we're asking will provide us the actual information we wanted. And so it's not just in sort of the program implementation that we can look for ways to improve, but also in the methods that we are utilizing to collect that data. And then you go back into define and relook at your measures and go back into that cycle. Sometimes we have grantees who do this annually, or sometimes it's even more frequent, whether it's quarterly or maybe it comes up during different times when you are actually looking at data on a more frequent basis. Oh, thanks, Casey. Casey put in the NYCP budget form as well as the playlist for the YouTube. So thanks for putting that in the chat. Well, now we're going to get into chatting. We're going to break into, let's see, into breakout groups because we've got a whole bunch and we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to share and participate. I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat these questions here. And as we, let me just get that first. There we go. So now you have these questions here that you can refer back when we go into the breakout groups. But let's just go over some of these questions. So the first bundle of questions is really around, did you reach your goals and objectives? And really, which goals did you not reach? And what kept you from reaching those goals? And so it's not, this is not a gotcha, the reality is that we set goals and sometimes, maybe your goals, your students exceeded those goals. And so now you have to look at that. Or sometimes they didn't. And so maybe you need to think about what are some of the implementation strategies you maybe need to change? Or what were some of the barriers that kept you from reaching those goals? We hear often from grantees that, hiring personnel has really been a struggle. And so, have that discussion in your group. The second bundle of questions is, what did you learn from your APR? And did anything surprise you as you were putting together your APR? Or maybe now as you are preparing to put together your APR update, is anything surprising you? Any new data that you found? Any sort of new revelations that came out of implementing your program? The third group, of questions is, what steps did you take after your APR? And what data collection and analysis did you do this year other than your APR? So we know that for many of you, this grant may be embedded in a larger program. And so what are the other ways that you are collecting and analyzing data, maybe outside of the data that you would provide specifically for the APR? And then, you know, after you did your APR, were there any things that you decided you wanted to change or improve, or maybe things you were committed to continuing to do in the second grant? So again, I have those, I shared that slide in the chat. We are going to break you out into groups of 4 to 5 participants. Have this discussion, and please, before you leave the discussion, please designate someone in your group to be your reporter. We're going to give you folks, since this, again, is such a big group, we're going to give you about 7 minutes to discuss, and then we'll be calling you back in order for everybody to share back, and your designated person to share back some of the interesting conversations that you were having. So right now we're going to move you into a breakout group. Have fun. Enjoy. So I saw, you know, everybody was having a great discussion. And so I would love to hear from each room how the discussion went, and share some maybe some things that really stuck out to you. So let's go with room 1, Cindy, Dylan, Pradina, Lisa, or Wendy.
Just a few notes. It sounds like we had common struggles. First was hiring staff. It seems like several of us have struggled finding the right staff for our positions. Another challenge was getting people to participate. One grantee mentioned that there's a lot of competition with other things going on, and so they're having a hard time recruiting students to participate. Somebody else mentioned that, I think it was the woman in Virginia, that they are doing a workshop, say, for example, on resume building, and they only have one person signed up. I know we are struggling trying to get colleges and universities on board to do dual enrollment with us. We've been working with Salish Kootenai College, but we're just struggling trying to get it in our schedule, their schedule matching our schedule.
Yeah.
But we are branching out and going down to University of Montana. They've approached us, and they're a university about 60 miles from our school. And so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But really, we're working on building a knowledge base, and now we're just hoping that we'll get people involved and take advantage of the services that we're offering.
Great.
And if anybody from my group has anything else to add, I'm sorry if I didn't get everything.
Anyone? Oh, looks like you covered it all. All right, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Let's move on to room 2 with Annie, Cindy Reeves, Elizabeth, Iris, Raina, and Stacy. Please share what your discussion was about.
I can jump in a little bit, and anybody else feel free to jump in. So a lot of things that we heard from others was hiring came up as for some as a challenge this year, just the amount of time it's taking and recruitment processes for it. Others were sharing too with that there was some staff turnover, you know, and thinking about for instructors being able to figure out who's going to fill in now, and doing some contracting with that and figuring out how to move forward with that. And then I think others were just sharing too that, you know, feeling very confident going into the second year, that a lot of things are in a better place, you know, as we move forward, and partnerships are excited about the work.
Yeah, great.
And then Stacy, I really liked what Stacy said about all of the partnerships she's developing. How many, Stacy?
We have 29, and then the highlight I just want to share, because it was amazing. We had our California Indian Ed for All Summit last Thursday and Friday. We had over 200 participants, 51 tribes attended, and just 15 beautiful speakers. And I'll share that with everybody later. We're making a website with all of the resources, but Debbie Reese, Tracy Sorrell, William Bauer. You had different presenters, so that was great too, especially as you start the school year. Have all of these school districts and tribes there to share.
Oh, congratulations on a great event. And, please, again, we'd love to see and get, send us information about what you're up to, any like flyers or recording, pictures are always wonderful to see. So please share that. All right, moving on to room 3, Brenda, Chris, Fawn, Richella.
I volunteered myself, so I'm gonna kind of go through this a little bit quick because I don't want to take up too much time. But a lot of what everyone spoke on already, a lot of the groups, the participants I was with were first year. So it's kind of funny that we're in, myself, Wendy, and Salt River, our team is in actually our 5th year with our no-cost extension. So big differences and a lot of good stuff though, because again, the hiring stuck out. I know we came across that challenge as well, but with their first year, it was really nice to hear a lot of positive. They most of them met a lot of different objectives with not just their teachers, but with their youth, different type of leadership roles, continuing their education, stuff like that. The youth involving in conferences, college tours, that was good. But yeah, I think that was what stood out the most, was just like, wow, a bunch of different activities, being very creative and trying to spend down. And even though they have extra funds, it seems like they're on the good direction moving forward. They're coming up with different ideas on how to spend that down. I know one particular mentioned a challenge was an internship. So I know that kind of with engaging students, stuff like that. And again, with different departments. So we didn't have that too much. So maybe if someone could recommend some ideas on that, but just a lot of it, just so much good work, which is always good to hear. And I mentioned just how with what the community needs, stuff like that, because I think trying to figure out what would be best, that lingo, that verbiage, I first heard that through these sessions. So thank you for that, because I think we were in our 2nd year maybe when you guys had started with this particular the services and stuff that you provide. But yeah, I never heard that before. And once I started asking Chris McIntyre, other departments, it's something I think I kept hearing we did do it, or our community has completed something like that. But again, trying to get access to the information, if not, but then of course I would think another one needs to be done. So that's something I would love to participate in. If you guys have anything to share on that too, that would be great.
Okay.
But yeah, lots of good stuff. Thank you. If they want to add anything too, I know I wrote down too much stuff. I don't want to. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing it. Anybody else from that group want to chime in? No. Awesome. Okay, moving on to room number 4. That was Gina, Heather, Jody, and Carrie.
I can talk a little bit. One of the things that we had a barrier was we got our funding at the end of October, and we didn't get our staff in place until February. And so that was a little bit of a barrier, but once we got started, we got going pretty well. And we've been working with a local college. Ours is a NYCP grant, and it's with helping kids get out to school for to be teachers. And we have been able to negotiate with the local tribal college, where we have a beginning foundations or intro to teaching class that we are going to be able to offer right in our school system. We're lucky enough, our project coordinator and teacher is actually an adjunct for the college, and so it worked out really good. It's a nice transition. And so since he is so awesome, Lester, who you'll be hearing later, since he is so awesome, this college has taken a chance on us to let us start this. So that's a good thing for us.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Okay, moving on to room 7. That's with 5, sorry. That's with Allison, Denise, Donna was in there, Jacqueline, and Leslie. Would love to hear your conversation.
This is Allison. I don't think we assigned a person to take notes directly, but I will tell you, we talked about our APR and how to potentially track more information so we can make sure we're reaching our goals and objectives by utilizing our GEPRA and project objective numbers and tying them to our expenditures. There was also a question about salaries and what we needed to do a budget adjustment on salaries. And Donna reminded us that there was that 5% cap on administrative salaries, but that to go ahead and put a request in to department for any kind of budget adjustments, because there was a question about increasing in teacher salaries, things like that are beyond our control. That's what we touched on. Donna, ladies, did you want to chime in also?
Yeah, with the salary thing, anytime you're looking at adjusting your budget anywhere, just send me a budget revision, and always tie it back into your objectives. How is in increasing anything going to help those objectives? Are your people working more or something like that, or is it like what you said? Is it the whole school, the state increasing everywhere, and then kind of give an amount of how much that it is increasing, and just tell us. Just make sure you tell us.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Great information. All right. Room 6, Chris Meyer. There's a lot of Chris's. Krista, Lester, and Brenda. Would love to hear about your discussion.
I will share. Our group was silent.
Uh-oh.
I did share. Ours program is a college and career preparation program. And we held our 4-week summer youth internship program starting in June, and it went through the first week of July. We had 70 students that participated, middle and high school students. And I was also sharing the college preparation program. I don't have the exact numbers, but it was the highest number of seniors going directly on to post-secondary.
Awesome.
My post-secondary staff are busily right now helping them with funding. So that was great news.
Yeah. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a great achievement.
The other, it was silent.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, let's make some space. I mean, for the other people who are in that group that were maybe silent, if you have anything, maybe listening to some of the other groups that sort of brings a thought to your mind, you can come off of mute now and share. Okay, maybe not. Moving on to room number 7. We have Doris was there, Erin, Kimberly, Rhonda, and then there's a phone number there. I don't know who that is, but if you wouldn't mind sharing about your conversation.
I can jump in and contribute something.
Okay, please do.
We had a couple of new project personnel in our room, and so they really spoke positively about getting to know their projects a little better, getting to know the school partners and that within their projects better. And so building relationships, making connections, and helping to just create a smooth transition as they're coming into the work, and recognizing that the work is moving forward. So while they're just getting adjusted to everything, whether they're a few months in or a few more than a few months in, that they see the work moving forward. They're ready to take the next steps with that, whether that's post APR or just implementation with the project. So kudos to them for that.
Yes.
When I think about where we're at in our APR process, when all of that information was due back at APR time, there was still months left or a little time left in the school year then. And so
Mhm.
there was still end of year data to be collected, end of year programming to be wrapped up. So there
Mhm.
were 999s on that page.
Right.
And so it's fun at this time of the year in the fall to have all that information, look at the impact pieces and
Yeah.
be able to, put all of that together and report that out and share with partners, but then also use that in a way to design forward and think about what do we want to do the same, what do we want to do differently
Yeah.
moving forward to get some of those same great results or to
Mhm.
try to get some even better results in some cases if that's the situation. So that's where we're
Great.
at.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. It really brings to mind that, the continuous improvement model or framework can work at different levels of your program and organization, right? It can work at the sort of the high level of your organization around strategic and like overarching organizational strategies, but also at the program level. And it can happen, you can determine that frequency in which it occurs, whether it's like at every APR or quarterly, or sometimes maybe even some of you use it monthly as a part of your maybe staff capacity building and planning and staff meetings. So awesome. Okay, and then we're moving on to room 8. Clara, Drew, Helena, and I think Kelly. Would love to hear about your conversation.
I'll go ahead and share from our group. So a lot of the same similar issues with that we've heard across the other groups about getting the positions filled in a timely manner to, be able to meet some of those objectives.
Mhm.
Aligning CTE goals, dual credit, um, with the school districts between the higher ed and the higher ed setting were
Mhm.
challenges. Um, and I think that's, and then how are we collecting the data for our measurements that we want to be able to just submit, so
Yeah.
finding a consistent way to gather student data and how that would be reported in.
Mhm. Mhm. Great. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again for sharing.
Yeah.
A lot of really great information. I wanted to say, let's sometimes throughout your year, please take a moment to just sort of like celebrate what you were able to do and achieve throughout the year. Sometimes we're so focused on hitting those goals and getting those objectives and making that impact in a student's life that we don't sort of take time for the small wins along the way, as well as some of the small learnings. And so when you maybe don't reach a goal that you set out for, there still is a lot of learning in not reaching that goal. And so I particularly like the opportunity when, you fail, I'm making finger quotes, you fail, that you can really learn a lot from not hitting that goal. And sometimes it's more, you can learn more by not hitting the goal than you can by hitting the goal. And so, but take those moments to celebrate both the wins as well as the learning. And that helps with, morale. Definitely, you want to make sure it took you so long and it took so much work to get the staff that you hired. You want to make sure you can keep them. And so carving out time where you can celebrate with staff and really acknowledging the amazing effort that they're putting into really impacting your student and communities is important and can be a good way to show your appreciation. So don't forget, and also yourself too. As project directors, you folks are working really hard. Some of you do both project directing around multiple projects and grants. Some of you are project directing and in the actual delivery and implementation of activities. A lot of you are out there building partnerships. So take a moment to sort of pat yourself on the back and really remember both in big and small ways how you were able to make an impact and move the project forward. So just want to leave you with that. Our next activity and discussion is really about planning for year 2. Thinking about the things that we just talked about and maybe some other ideas that you want to start doing. And so maybe from your APR, maybe through your APR update, you will be thinking about things that, you know, you really need to start doing, maybe new strategies. Maybe they're small tweaks and maybe they're bigger tweaks. And then you maybe have learned things that you want to stop doing. Maybe there were strategies or activities, the time of the day, how you recruited students that you are going to stop doing and start in a different strategy or a different method. And then the third piece is really to look at what you're going to continue. So maybe something's working out great and you're really getting that enrollment up, or you're getting engagement and participation. So you want to continue that. So let's talk about what you want to continue. So we're going to go back out into breakout rooms. And again, we'll do 7 minutes for you to have the discussion about, in this new year, what are the things you want to start, stop, and continue? And I'll go ahead and put that in the slide in the chat. Again, we'll be out in breakout rooms for 7 minutes. Everyone is back. And so again, we're going to go ahead and again have each group share their discussions. This time we're going to start from room number 8. So Erin, Fredina, Carrie, and Lisa, would love to hear about your discussion around start, stop, and continue.
Did you say group 8?
Yes, room 8. So that would be Erin, Fredina, Carrie, and Lisa Barker.
I'll go for myself, and then if our colleagues want to jump in. I know that one of our group members said that because it was such a late start, that there's nothing really they're going to stop. They're going to start a lot of it.
Yeah.
And for Nevada, this is our second NYCP cycle. So we've learned the first 4 years plus low cost extension years, so 5 years total, on what works and what doesn't work. And so we're taking, so I shared the resources that we have on the Nevada Department of Ed website.
Awesome.
That are awesome evaluators put together. So anybody wants to take a look at those, and really not stopping probably too much. We're going to be continuing a lot more professional development for our site in trauma informed. And we took that from the project directors meeting with the National Trauma Center. So we have been on the call with them to get our sites and anyone else in our state information towards trauma for our students. And we're excited about this next year because we're also going to we're working on our project coordinator, Kelly, is working with our 2 colleges to put in a dual credit for our private language. So we're moving along quickly but surely, slowly but surely, whatever. Anybody else on my team, go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else from room 8 want to share? Okay, if not, we'll move on to room 7. Chris Meyer, Cindy, Dylan, Elizabeth, and Stacy.
I shared in the last group. Would someone else like to take the lead?
That would be great. I like calling
Chris,
someone.
go for it. I shared last time too.
How about Dylan
Yeah,
or
I did too,
Elizabeth?
so I don't wanna-
Go ahead.
Sure. Sorry, I'm out in St. Paul. I'm having some connectivity issues, so maybe somebody else can jump in, and I'm gonna try to reset here.
Alrighty. Well,
One thing I'll just mention is that I think 3 of us in this group are have a no cost extension this year. And so we were just talking about how grateful we are to have this extra year to really see things through.
yeah, great. Awesome. We're moving on to room number 6. Allison, Brenda, Donna was in there, Drew and Fawn. Would love to hear from you, your discussion.
So I can speak up for myself, and then if anyone else wants to chime in, that's fine. So I said that we are going to stop trying to force certain resources that students don't seem necessarily interested in, and we haven't had a lot of traction with, and try to start being more adaptive and listening more to what kinds of things they might be interested in, and trying to cater to their interests. And in terms of continue, we were fortunate to have a 3-person team that was hired relatively close to the start of the grant date. But because we work entirely online, we hadn't had a lot of time early on to build rapport. And that's something that we've been trying to put an effort into lately. And I want to continue that into fiscal year 2, because I think that's really important.
Awesome. That's really great. Thanks for sharing. Room 5, Chris, Cindy, Helena, and Jody.
I can try to summarize. We're going to continue to build partnerships, and Jody, I believe, mentioned her awesome connection with the tribal colleges, which gave us ideas about continuing to build relationships with our local colleges and mentors, and continue regalia making. Did we mention that we were going to stop anything?
Nope.
To my group. Just continuing to build partner relationships with our other organizations.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. And did somebody else want to share? No. Okay. All right, moving on to room number 4. I'm Clara and Doris, Stacy, Lester, and Rena.
Hello, Clara.
Hi, Clara.
I'm having a cough, so I don't want to go into it, but we talked about everything coming into place at the end of year 1, and not dropping anything, but running with continuing with everything that was put in place. So by the end of the first year, it was all happening. It was great.
Awesome.
And so we're continuing it here in the second year.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, I guess, I know a lot of you, because of the hiring delay, you're just sort of getting your feet underneath you. And so you probably will be continuing a lot of the work that you were doing into the second year. Totally understandable. So let's go to room 3. We have a phone number, and then Heather, Kelly, Kimberly, and Wendy.
Hi, this is Kimberly.
Hi, Kimberly.
So at the schools and then data, I can't remember what Heather said, but I know Kelly and I were on the same page about starting training for our staff. You know, help them understand more about the grant, the roles they are currently in. So that's what we're looking at. Agreed upon. And I think Heather is still trying to understand her grant. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Heather. You can chime in. And then I don't think we really mentioned any stop. I think we just want to continue doing the work of our objectives. So, you know, it's year one and we're like trying to keep going on for year two.
Yeah. Great. Great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Room number 2 with Annie, Denise, Iris, Miranda. Excuse me.
I can talk on behalf of BB&C, but in our little group discussion, BB&C is going to continue their collaborative team meetings that we established, so we can continue moving forward with our goals and objectives.
Great. Thank you. Room number 1 with Gina, Leslie, Priscilla, and Trinidad. Anyone want to share from that group what your discussion was on, or even maybe just sharing what you want to start, stop, or continue?
Leslie Franks, program coordinator, Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. I just shared that we're just going to keep continuing on what we've been doing this first year of our grant. And like others have said, continue building upon partnerships and things like that. But I don't think we're going to stop anything right now or start anything new. I think we're just going to keep continuing on.
Okay.
And it sounds like that was our kind of the consensus of our group as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like you know, a lot of people are doing that, continuing into second year, what was working again. So awesome. Thank you everyone for sharing. I hope that was helpful and informative for you folks. The next sort of discussion we want to have, and this will be relatively quick. We would love to hear how we can best support you in year 2. You can go ahead and come off of mute and share an idea that you might have, or you can put it in the chat. Really, this is for both your program officer and the OIETA team. We want to really understand how we can best support you to help you manage and implement your grant project. And so, and you can really start to think out of the box. It might be through a tool or resources, a webinar, or anything else you can dream of that would be helpful to, you know, your successful implementation. Anybody want to have an idea they want to come off of chat and share? I mean, come off of mute and share.
Yeah, this is Dylan with the LA Community of St. Paul Travel Government. Hopefully our internet's stable again. One thing I'd like to mention is just that we really benefited in the past from the on-site director meetings. And it's a particular note for us because St. Paul Island, Alaska is an incredibly geographically isolated community. So those meetings are beneficial because it allows us to network in a way that we don't normally get to, given that isolation. Realizing though, you know, obviously there's still COVID and travel restrictions, limitations, and so on. But if it's possible to do those in person, I think that would be our preference.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, because I mean, you get content, but also it's the networking that is really a benefit to being in person.
It is, Alani, but it also puts into context, especially for our staff. We have a fair amount of turnover. I'm sure other folks do as well. But it puts them into a larger context of how they fit into education, how they fit into Alaska Native and maybe even Native American, education systems. It's just really beneficial for our staff in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Other ideas? How we can best support you in year 2?
I think from my point, just understanding, it seems easy as far as looking at the budget revision and then discussing about the administrative costs, understanding what that really entails for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
Just to recap, that year 1 budget revisions cannot take place anymore, or I didn't understand that part.
Your year 1 budget revision? Yeah, you
Yes.
can revise that anytime you need to. Year 1 ends September 30th for you, and year 2 begins October 1st. So whenever you're working on your year 2 budget and you see a carryover, that's yours. You add that into the amount that we are recommending you for year 2. So you're going to add that year 1 carryover in there. Just be certain that that year 1 carryover is an actual carryover, because sometimes what happens is that your budget people haven't drawn down for any encumbrances that occurred in year 1. So it looks like that you have more in your carryover than what you may actually have. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And your administrative cost, just put in whatever project director, like you can't, as a project director, the one who is speaking to me, you're not going to put, over like 105, 110 FTE on there. But this is something that has come up, and I will have to email a few of you. If you are a project director in multiple grants and you're putting 100 FTE on NYCP 18, if you're putting 100 FTE on NYCP 22, and you're putting 100 FTE on an ACE grant or any other grant in the department, you need to adjust that, because you technically can't have 100 in each program. It's 100 altogether. So look at those and adjust it. I believe we can go to 125, but it will flag you if you are over. Our system will flag us if it is 100, if you have more grants and you have 100 FTE on all of those. So just be mindful of that, and that's your level of effort.
And the budget codes or budget sections that have like personnel, fringe, travel, supplies, is that set too as well, or?
Yep, that's
it is.
Yep, that's why we like for you all to use the Excel form that we have, and you can add, itemize it under each category, but those categories are set.
Okay.
Awesome.
I have a quick question for you, Donna. In my previous experience in working with grants, we have been encouraged to spend out the year 1 funds first before moving on to year 2. Is that the situation with this grant as well?
We encourage you to spend all of your year 1 funds. So, any activities that you need to do in order to support those objectives, if you need to add any more activities, anything that you need to do, we encourage you to have those year 1, that year 1 budget spent before fiscal year 2 starts. Sometimes that doesn't happen though. So especially in year 1, year 1 is really difficult to get off the ground. I've been there. It's really, really hard. And with all of the, the hiring and the things that you guys are going through. That's why I tell you to stay in contact with me as much as you can to let me know what's going on. But you still have it. I mean, if you have carryover, and year 2 hits, you have it. So you don't have to worry about that. Now, I will tell you that with this first year being out of the way and your year 2 coming, and the amount of carryover that I see that may be in your budget for year 2, if that occurs again this year and you have a large carryover for year 3, there may be some cuts on the year 3 funding that you have, not your carryover necessarily, but the year 3 funding. And that is to help you out as the grantee, so you don't have this enormous amount of money that you can't spend, and whatever is remaining at the end of the whole cycle of your grant, it goes back to Treasury if we don't spend it. And we may not be able to get that amount of funding back to support programs like this. So we encourage you to spend down your funds and meet with our TA team to help you decide on the different activities. Come to the talking circles, come to our office hours so you can bounce ideas off of one another, and to look at how you can support your objectives with the activities and spend down your funds. But that's a long answer to say you have your carryover for year 2.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Again, keep putting in the chat if any other ways we can support. And this is not the end of this conversation. You can go ahead and continue to email us ideas. Sometimes after you leave a conversation, you remember like, oh, got this great idea. Please email it to the oie@seiservices.com email, and we'll be glad to incorporate your ideas as much as we can. The other thing is, I noticed in the chat, there was a question about where can we put resources and share. That is your NYCP Padlet, and thanks, Casey, for putting the link there. You can find the forms. There's some like updates on due dates, but also there are places where you can go ahead and share resources with your fellow grantees and or ask questions there as well. And so there are places for group discussions. So really want to encourage you to use that. And are there any other questions that we didn't cover?
I do want to add the GANs that you guys just have received. Check your box 7, the authorized funding, and make sure your box 6 has all your budget periods in there. For some reason on that authorized funding block, the performance period is not adding up all of your budget period years. Just send me a quick email and let me know that that's not occurring, and I will let our front office know that this is happening in G5. And anyone that needs to be a new project director, I know you probably sent me emails or called me. Send me an email right now anyway, so I have it at the front of my email list and I can go ahead and make those changes with the proper documentations that we talked about earlier as early as tomorrow.
Yeah, please don't put that off. Those are really important pieces of information that you need to make sure are correct for Donna to put into G5, because that can have effects on your ability to do the work and do the reporting you need to do. Alrighty, so we're going to pop up an end of event poll, and as you are taking a couple seconds to do that, I want to just sort of end with some closing business. One, you should have gotten an email from Julian reminding you that we have this grantee satisfaction survey that is sent out. We distribute it every August, and this really helps us to determine where we need to improve, topics we need to address. And this satisfaction survey goes out to any of your staff that may have participated in any OIE event, whether it's a talking circle or maybe the PD meeting or even office hours or other webinars. If they signed up for it, then they should be getting this grantee survey. It takes about 5 minutes, and we would really appreciate if you could provide that feedback. We do use it in order to plan the next year. Also, like Donna had said, if you actually have any, this is actually for an email list. So if you would like any of your staff to continue to get information about what's happening at OIE, then you can email us at oie@seiservices.com. And this is just if you want to add staff or maybe staff is changing. However, like Donna had mentioned earlier, if you do have any changes as it relates to your project director, certifying official, any budget revisions you might have, or questions about budget, then you want to direct all those questions and information to Donna and there's her email there. Also, you can connect with your OIE technical assistance team. There's two ways to do that. You can either email us or you can go to that Canly link that Casey's going to put in the chat that you can go ahead and schedule a session, 1 hour one-on-one session. That can be to like, we can review your maybe your budget revision, answer any questions, maybe talk through your transition, or maybe just sometimes you just need a sounding board. And so we're always available for that. You want to make sure that you are connecting with your program officer, Donna. There is a link there to schedule your mandatory fall check-in. So you want to make sure that you get that and schedule that on your calendar and on Donna's calendar. Upcoming events. So we have office hours on August 24th. And then in September, the office hours will be on September 21st. Now, normally our office hours are every fourth Thursday. However, in September, you'll notice that it's actually September 21st is actually the third Thursday. That is the correct date. It is September 21st. And we just had to make some adjustments for September. Also, you will have your next NYCP talking circle in October. That date will be forthcoming along with an invite for the entire year of talking circles for NYCP. This is how you can reach out to OIE, your program officer, Donna Bussell, as well as the OIE technical assistance team. I want to thank all of you for participating. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at OIE Indian Ed. That we put up a lot of great up-to-date information, both from OIE as well as sort of the larger landscape around Native education. So it's always a great place to engage and see what's going on. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you maybe at office hours.
Lonnie,
yes.
Real quick question for Donna Bussell. Donna, for those of us who are in the no-cost extension or going through closeout, do we need to sign up for the fall meeting to go through closeout?
Yeah, we'll send you a link. We know who
Okay.
you are. So we're going to send you a link and make sure that you're on there to give you all the information that you need. And I'm also going to send an updated letter out for you to have like a checkoff list of everything that you need. And our PR link will be on there for the meeting.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
You are very, very welcome. And everybody else, you don't have to wait till November 16th to turn in those budgets. You can do them earlier. So as soon as you're ready, send them over to me.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, everyone.